Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be starting another reading vlog. So we are trying to finish my Our Fantasy bingo board for 2024. So if you didn't know, Our Fantasy is obviously a subreddit. I do not frequent Reddit very often because it scares me. I'm not actually submitting it or anything, so like it's not that serious, and there is one space that I'm cheating for and I don't care, but everything else I'm trying to do legit. The 5 short stories, if in case you wanted to know the spot that I'm cheating for. I'm technically using an anthology, which, because like that's the hard mode, is to read an entire anthology of short stories, but it's definitely not the spirit of it because they're all by Naomi Novik, which is not what they wanted. They obviously want like an anthology with many different authors. So I'm giving myself that one like kind of free spot where it's like I half did it. And like I'm trying to go hard mode for everything except for, as I said, it was just that spot. I was like, I don't want to. Genuinely, I don't want to. And so I'm not going to. And I'm not actually submitting the board, so it doesn't matter that much. First in a series, I used Dragonflight. I think the hard mode was more than 4 books or more than 3 books. Alliterative title was, the hard mode was to have 3 of the same letter. So I used Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear by Sean McGuire. Under the Surface, I used Fathom Folk. I think it was 50% underwater or underground. Criminals, A Tempest of Tea. I can't remember what the hard mode was. Maybe a heist or something. Dreams, I used the Mime Order. The hard mode was like normal dreams, and like Paige has nightmares in that. Entitled Animals, and then hard mode was a magical animal, so I used Rage of Dragons. Bards, we shall be getting to. Prologues and epilogues, I used None of the Ninth. Self-published or indie published, I used A Matter of Execution by Nicholas and Olivia Atwater. Romantasy, I think it was LGBT was the hard mode, and that I used Paladin's Hope. Dark Academia, I used A Dark and Drowning Tide. Multi-POV, I think it was like over 4 or over 5 point of views. I used Malice. Published in 2024, I used The Phoenix Keeper. I think debut was the hard mode. Character with a Disability, I used Percy Jackson and The Wrath of the Triple Goddess. Not that I think it actually had good rep. I think it's thrown out a lot of the good work he's done. Published in the 1990s, I used Northern Lights. Orc, Trolls and Goblins, Oh My, I used The Witness for the Dead. Space Opera, we'll be getting to. Author of Color, I used The Bone Shard Daughter. Jesus, I read that last year. I feel like I read that about 5 years ago at this stage. Survival, How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. Judge it by its cover, I used Mistress of Lies. Set in a Small Town, I used The Wandering Knight. I've also stopped giving you the hard modes because I got tired of listing them all. 5 SFF short stories. I used Very Deep, which as I said was definitely cheating, but I don't care. Eldritch Creatures, I used The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. Reference materials, I used Lightbringer by Claire Legrand. Book club or read along, you're allowed to switch out one prompt for a previous year's prompt, so I switched out that one to Sequel, which was the 2023 prompt in the same spot, and that was I used Turning Darkness into Light. So yeah, so as you can see, there is 2 that I have not finished, so it is crunch time. So we need to do Bards and we need to do Space Opera. Bards, I'm a little more, I don't know what I'm doing for that. But Space Opera, I know for a fact what I'm doing for that, and I will be reading The Principle of the Moments by Esme Jacami Pearson. This was an Illumicrate book. I am trying to read through my physical TR, I want them all gone. Principle of the Moments, as I said, it is an Illumicrate pick, and it has like on the blur, like, you know, like the author like blurbs. Somebody has said that it is a space opera, so I'm like, okay, space opera. Good. And then Bards. Okay, so for Bards, I originally had down The Hands of the Emperor by Victoria Goddard, and this was a rec that Emma has told me. She said that it is very niche, but she thinks that I will like it, and I'm optimistic about that. But it is like 900 pages long, and I'm on crunch time, so I'm not sure how possible that is. So I might have to change that. I am 50% of the way into The Principle of Moments by Esme Jacami Pearson. Described as a space opera, even like on the back it says my favorite kind of grand space opera where anything can happen and usually does a great speech. And it's like, is it like, it is, but like we haven't really gotten to like the space fighting stuff. I haven't had a great luck with the Illumicrate picks that I've read, and this is one of the oldest ones I have. I'm getting so close to being finished with all of the Illumicrate books I bought. I think one of them has been a 4-star. Everything else has been either a 2 or a 3, which is why I'm no longer subscribed to Illumicrate. So like I'm hesitant to be like, oh yeah, I like don't like it or something like that. Like it's because I feel like I'm the problem, because I have been reading this so slowly. Like I've been reading this for like over a week now, I think, and I've been reading it like 20 pages at a time. I have finally hit the halfway mark, and I'm hoping that I'm going to like over the next day or two, just like finish it. And I didn't stop at this like 20-30 pages, like stop at that, because I feel like it's, as I said, so like I feel bad being like, oh, I'm not like loving it, because I feel like a lot of that is my own doing, because like I just haven't really gotten into the groove of the story, because I've been reading like small chunks at a time, because I just haven't had the time to sit down and read. So like it is my own fault, I think, that I'm not loving it. But it's kind of like, it's like too late to turn back now, because I'm halfway through. And so like it's just like, well, you just gotta continue forward, but you've probably like ruined the experience of this book for yourself. Well done, Rebecca. The synopsis is a bit misleading about the two timelines, because there is two timelines, but the two characters you think are going to be in the same the different timelines are actually in the same timeline, and then there's like another group of people in the other time, whatever. That's not important. I'm making it confusing. So it is like 6066, and there's like this empire in the galaxy, and we follow a character called Asha, and she lives a part of this empire, and she just like basically spends every single day working. There's like no relief from this. The emperor is not a good guy, and then she like dreams of escaping and all this, and then she gets caught up when like somebody comes to her house and like threatens her mother, and she gets wrapped up in this kind of like plot. And then we follow another character. He is a time traveler, and so he has spent a lot of time in the 1800s in London. He then gets kind of wrapped up and drawn into Ash's world, and the two of them kind of end up teaming up. And as I said, like, I don't dislike this book or anything. It's just nothing, like, it's not gripping me. Like, everything is fine, you know? Like, it's fine. Like, I can't complain and be like, oh, I don't like the characters, or I don't like the writing, or something like that. Like, I don't dislike anything. But like, it's all fine. The characters, they're fine. The writing, it's fine. The world building, it's fine. Like, the plot, it's fine. So it's kind of difficult to talk about a book when everything is just like, it's fine. Like, that's a really boring review. Like, I don't think there's anything particularly like mind-blowing to me about it yet. But like, it seems like a fairly standard plot. I think I want a little more from like the time travel timeline, and like, I guess, developing that aspect of the book. I also kind of wanted to develop the relationship between the characters more, and I don't mean romantic, it's not that like that. It's friendship, because like, I think it is one of like the last chapters, and it was kind of like a thing. I was like, yeah, we're gonna be friends. Like, kind of being like, this is my friend. Like, it's good to have someone that has your back. And I'm like, I know I've been like reading this very broken up, but I feel like I haven't seen that like become a genuine friendship yet. It's just the two of you have kind of been stuck together, and like, this is like the first person that Asha has in her life, like, except for her mother. To me, I feel like a lot of this book is quite setup heavy. Hopefully in the second half we'll start to get action, but I'm kind of afraid that like book one is just like a setup book, because I know that this is a series. Hello. So, car update, which I don't think I've ever done before. Exciting times. Actually, have I actually even ever mentioned that I passed my driving test? I did that like 2 months ago. So I finished The Principle of Moments by Esme Jacquemi Pearson, and I'm honestly not going to dwell on it for long because I don't have anything to say. But basically, like, okay, I haven't given it a rating on Goodreads because I feel a bit bad, because like, I feel like it was a me problem and not a book problem, because I give it a 2. But I don't actually think it was a bad book or like anything like that. I genuinely think that like, my attention span, for whatever reason, and I think that definitely impacted my enjoyment of it, because I just never got into the flow of the story, and I never really like felt like I had a grasp on like just anything, like the characters, the world, anything. Like, there was parts of it that intrigued me, and like, so like, I'm not sure, was it just like, oh, maybe it's just like because it's a debut, it wasn't like, you know, the most developed or stuff like that, because like, I do think there was a lot of detail in there. It's just like, it was not going into my brain. Like, so I'm not, so like, I'm like, for my own personal ratings, like, it's getting a 2, because I can't say I liked it. I was like kind of bored, and I just like, as I said, I didn't connect to it at all. So like, that's how my ratings work, you know. 2 stars, I didn't like it, or I was bored or anything like that. And so it definitely fits into the 2-star category, but I feel a bit bad actually like officially rating it on Goodreads, giving it a 2-star, because I feel like that's not, it mightn't actually be a book problem, it might be a me problem, but also like the rating is like 3.6 stars, so maybe it is actually a book problem. I don't know. I'd be willing to give another book by her a try in the future. Obviously I know she's working on this series. I don't know if it's a duology or trilogy or what is it, but maybe like whatever she brings out after this, maybe I'll pick it up again, because like I'm not opposed, because I don't think like it wasn't like poorly written or anything. Now we have one more prompt to do, and that is bards. And so I have like 3 books on the go. No, I don't have. I have like 3 books planned. So book number 1 was Hands of the Emperor by Victoria Goddard, and I am like, it's like a 900-page book, like and Emma recommended it to me, and I am like, I think 10% of the way in, and I'm liking it so far. Like it's very much, it's like a cozy fantasy, but like I swear Emma told me that had bards in it, but like nowhere have I seen a bard, so I'm a little afraid, so I'm starting something else. So then the other backup option that I have is, well, so there's one that I know for certain. So, but the first one I'm going to try is the first book in the Harper Hall part of Dragons of Pern. So I think that's Dragon Song. And so like, I think it was the 3rd book to be published, but it's like 16th in the chronological order. And I don't really know what order you're supposed to read those books in. Either way, I'm not reading them in the correct order because I haven't read the book 2 yet. I have read book 1. So at least I have like some background of the world building. But like, obviously it's about a Harper, because it's Harper Hall. But again, in the synopsis, nowhere does it say the word bard. And in hard mode, it has to explicitly say bard. And Harper is not a bard. Like it is, but it isn't. So like, I also have a feeling, but like that's like a really short audiobook. It's like 7 hours, 7.5 hours. I probably have to listen to it on a slower speed than I usually do, because like it's very dense language. But even then, it shouldn't take me that long. I'll probably listen on 2 times speed instead of 3. And so even then, it's not that long. And so again, so I'm hoping that they mentioned the word bard in there somewhere, but if not, I have another backup option, which is The River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I am kind of trying to read anything else except for this, because the one Rebecca Ross series I have read I didn't like, which was The Queen's Rising, but also that was like one of her first books anyway. I'm not sure, was it her debut? And also it was YA, whereas I think this is technically adult. So we'll see. Either way, I'm gonna read one of those, and hopefully first try we'll get it, but if not, we have a backup, so it's okay. Okay, so update time. So the last time I spoke to you, I was after finishing The Principle of the Moments. I was in my car and I was talking to you about the reading plan, which was, what did I have to read? Oh, I had started The Hands of the Emperor, but I was like, okay, I do not have enough time to read this book because it's 900 pages long, and well, spoiler, it is now the 31st of March. So I need to get this done today, so that is not happening. And the same day that I filmed that clip, I read the entirety of Dragon Song, which is the first book in the Harper Hall series, which is part of the Dragons of Pern universe. I listened to it, it was available on Audible Plus. I have actually read the first book in the Dragons of Pern, and then I skipped to book 3 publication order. I don't think it matters. Like, there was a couple of characters that we see, but like in general, I mean, for world building purposes, it's good that I read the first book. But I do need to I'm gonna have to like go back and read book 2, I suppose. And then I don't know what way I should be reading those books, to be honest. But anyway, I'm giving it a 4-star. I really, really like this. It was so close to a 5-star. So close. It just missed out on it. And the only reason, like, it was 5-star like most of the way through, and then all of a sudden like this one plot thread kind of just disappears, and then it's like, is anyone else remembering about that other thing? And so like I was just kind of left hanging, and it was like, oh, that's a bit unsatisfying. But like aside from that, like the whole build-up of it was so good, and I'm so happy about it. So sure that I was gonna like this series, because so many people have told me how good it is, and like it is obviously like a fantasy classic and all of this. And I read the first book and I gave it a 3-star. And which in fact Emma said to me, she said, oh, I thought I had kind of warned you about the like misogyny element, but I obviously hadn't, which no, she hadn't. But it's fine. So it kind of just like, there was just a couple of moments that like really took me out of the story and like really made it so that I didn't enjoy it, because like it just gave me such a like an ick feeling, and I was just like, I cannot root for you as a person because of how you are acting. Like like, oh, it's of the time. And it's like, that doesn't mean I rate based on my enjoyment. And like, I did not, that those scenes hampered my enjoyment. Anyway, so I was like, I'm gonna continue because obviously this is such a long series. Like, times changed as she wrote the series and stuff. And like, I was intrigued enough by the ideas in it that I wanted to continue. And I'm so glad this pushed me to, which, by the way, it's not counting for the prompt. Like, yes, it would fit for easy mode, but even then, I realized that I have Dragonflight in for the first book in the series prompt, which I kind of forgot about. And so I'm not supposed to use the same author twice. So even then, I can't really count it. I mean, I'm sure I could find a different first book that I read. I'm sure I've read one this year, but it's like, oh, I forgot about that. Hoping that like they would just mention the word bard at least once, but no, it is Harper. So no bards, because the hard mode is explicitly says the word bard, so it doesn't count. But anyway, as I said, like, I'm so glad that like I forgot about the fact that I had put the first book in for one of the prompts, because like I don't think I would have been pushed to try this otherwise. At least not for a while. And it's kind of like I knew that I wanted to continue the series, but like I was probably gonna leave it a lot longer than I now am. Now I'm a lot more intrigued to continue the series, which is very exciting because yeah, I kind of gonna probably leave it sit for a while and then try and continue on. But I had such a good time with this. I haven't told you what it's about or anything, so I cannot remember our main character's name. So we follow our main character, and she grows up in one of these towns, and it's kind of a very traditional place, and the old Harper dies, and the Harper is responsible for like teaching like all like the old songs, which kind of teach their history, as well as like, you know, playing the music along with them. And he dies, and because it's like a very strong fishing village, they're not the most musically talented because of the hard work kind of ruins their fingers and hands for like delicate instrument playing. And so that leaves our main character, she is left to kind of play his like burial song, and then she is given the job to take over for him temporarily, because obviously it is not a woman's job. And then the new Harper comes, and she ends up kind of through a couple of different events feeling very much on the outside of her town, and she ends up running, and one day she comes across a nest of like these fire lizards, and they're like related to dragons, but they're not like, you know, big dragons, they're like small. And she becomes like very attached to them and all of this, and so it's just like her story, and I really just like had such a good time with it. Like, it really, like, I loved the world building and stuff that happened in the first book, and I loved getting to see it kind of from a different perspective, because we're very much like in with the dragons in that book, and now we're kind of seeing it from like just these normal people, and like they're like looking up and being like, oh my god, these amazing things, and how like all of like these potential dangerous things, how that affects these towns, and also like just all of that kind of stuff. And so I loved kind of getting to see the world building from a different perspective. I really liked our main character and like her story, and like just kind of like there's just so much like sadness in this story a lot of the time, and like realizations that you're just like, oh my god, I want to like hug her or whatever. And I was just so absorbed into the story. It's honestly the only way I can put it. Like, I was just having such a good time. I did not want it to end, and I just like wanted to keep going, and like I was having such a good time. And like it was also like there was kind of a bit of humor in there as well, which I didn't kind of expect based on the first book. Because like it's really funny, because like the Harper that arrives is like, wow, this previous Harper who like briefly took over, like so talented, so good, where is he? And they're all like, gone. He was a foster child and he's gone home. Bye. Okay, don't ask any questions. And then like you'll flash to a chapter and she's just like out playing with these like baby dragons basically. And I kind of like the like bouncing back between the two of them, like him being like, where is this? And then everyone like trying to like hide her, and he's like, so he's not traditional, and like he's so okay with the fact that a woman could be a Harper. And they don't know that, I guess. And it's just like, there's like just like a little bit of humor with like the juxtaposition between the two point of views. And like that's where it lost the star rating for me, because like even though like I didn't like absolutely love him, favorite character of all time, I did like him. And it's very much like in his point of view, it said that like he is supposed to like change this town, like slowly, like by becoming absorbed and a part of them and like pushing their boundaries a little. And he, and so like that's his job. And we're told that, and then we don't really get any resolution for it. And I'm wondering if in other books in this series, whether like we get kind of his story and like this kind of like more her story. I'm not 100% sure, because like it very much, it just kind of fizzled out in favor of her story. And while it is definitely like, even in the like first half, first 3/4, whatever, like it is still like mostly her story, but like there's still like a good bit of him. And then for that to just like disappear all of a sudden was very kind of jarring. And that's kind of what's making me give it a 4-star, but it's still a very high 4-star. And I'm like so happy that I actually finally continued with the series. So yay. But back to the problem we have, which is, of course, it's the last day of March and I haven't read a book that has a bard. So it is time to break out my last resort, which is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. So the audiobook is on Scribd. I think it is 15 hours. I listen on 3 times speed. So like I can do that today. I've had like a couple of other jobs that I had to do this morning. Honestly, I don't feel great. I think I might be coming down with something, but that means it's the perfect excuse to just lie down and listen to this. So yes. We are here to wrap it up. I know I didn't do a 50% update. Did I do a 50% update for any of the books in this video? I'm not sure. Really bad video on my part. Apologies. But I have finished A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I finished it at 10:30 last night. It is officially April the 1st. I did it. And it is a bard. He is a bard. Bard explicitly. So it absolutely counts. And in the plot twist of my life that I never would have seen coming, I'm giving this book 5 stars. I genuinely, like, I'm kind of gobsmacked. Because if you had said to me, okay, you're about to read this book, put money, like, place a bet right now, what star rating will you give this book? I would probably have said it's going to be a 3-star. It's going to be an okay, I like it book. And no, I was enthralled. I ate this up. I do not know what came over me. Like, and like, here's the thing is, I objectively had like a couple of issues here and there, but I was just like, I don't care. I was like, I'm having such a good time. And I had such a good time. The audiobook I would highly recommend. I always love the sensation. It's like when you're reading something and you have to keep stopping it because you're like, I don't want this to end. I don't want to finish this. I want this experience to go on forever. But then you're like, I need to go back to this book. And so you have to press play again. That was the experience that I had with this book. I did not want it to stop, but also I had to keep stopping it. And I did not see it coming. I did not see it coming, guys. As I said, I have read a book from Rebecca Ross before. It's, I think, A Queen's Rising, which is one of her earliest books. And in my opinion, it is one of the most boring books ever. Like, I genuinely was like, what is happening? Like, it was just not particularly good, if you ask me. And so, which is why I was not that enthusiastic about reading this. I think you could tell. I was like, okay, I have like other books that I really want to read, and hope that they somewhere mentioned the word bard, because like this was like my last resort. Like, I didn't really care to read it, and I'm so glad none of those other books had a bard in them, because I read it and I loved it. I had such a good time, and I would not have read it. I'm not sure would I have read it otherwise. I think maybe eventually, if I ever like had time or like, you know, didn't know what I wanted to read and like saw it on Scribd, I probably would be like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a go. But like, it was definitely not anywhere near the top of my priority. So I'm really glad that I read it, and I had such a good time. As I said, audiobook, so good. Highly recommend. So we start by following Jack, and he used to live on this island of Credence, and it is split in two because the two like sides of this island cannot agree on things, and like the way spirits act is different depending on the island. So the like west is very like brutal, and the spirits, they can like use the spirits and their magic without any consequences. But when it comes to winter, the spirits kind of like, I guess, fade, or like it's very harsh winters. Like it's cold, they can't grow food, and all of this. Whereas on the east side, it's a little more gentler and creative and all of this, and they can use their spirits, but it costs them like physically or their health or all of this kind of stuff. But overall the like seasons are more balanced, and so the west kind of like raids to try and get stuff. And our main character Jack, he only has his mother, and so he's kind of always been like looked down on because they don't know who his father is. They assume obviously it's one of these villagers, and he's been unfaithful, and he kind of never really felt like he belonged. And then when he was like a preteen, he got picked to get sent to the mainland to learn to like go to school to be a bard. Okay, so we are back, and it is a lot later because basically I ended up getting a phone call, and then I forgot I hadn't finished talking, which is a very typical thing of me to do, isn't it? And so then I would literally went about my whole day. It's been about like 5 hours since I was in the middle of that day. So I believe I was in the middle of telling you the synopsis. Basically, our main character, who is the bard, gets a letter that is asking for him to return to the island because children are going missing, and they think that the spirits have something to do with it, and they basically want him to play for the spirits. And I will say, I do think this is definitely predominantly character driven. There are kind of two different couples, because I don't think it's marketed as fantasy romance. I know like Divine Rivals, despite the fact that was YA, I know that was kind of marketed as like romantasy, whatever. And I think her next book that's coming out, I think she has a book coming out this year, is also marketed. I'm not sure if that's YA or adult though. I'll have to do a little bit of research on it. But like this one, I mean, it definitely has a plot, because there is that whole mystery of these missing children, and obviously also like the whole political thing of like this island is divided in two. So there is more to it than like just characters and relationships and all that, which is the way romantasy is supposed to be. I don't think they nail it a lot of the time, in my opinion. I feel like it's very hard to kind of nail that balance. So I think I could see it going either way. Like if you wanted to categorize this as like romantasy, I wouldn't say no. And if you didn't want to categorize it as romantasy and just fantasy with like a strong romance subplot, I can also see you going that way as well. For you to probably like love the book, I think you probably need to like at least one of the couples. I will say, because like obviously like I feel like, because obviously the synopsis that I gave you is very much like about the bard, and I would say yes, like the main character is him and Adara, who is like the heiress. But there is two other very significant characters, and there's a trope, and like I'm not sure how this would work in contemporary romances for me, because there's this trope that kind of they have. So like they're like a little bit of an older couple. He has a child. She is, the stepmother, and it's kind of like a not necessarily arranged marriage, but like kind of like, go into this marriage expecting like for different reasons, kind of, whether, it's like financial or whatever. And obviously like you come to like love that person. And like neither of you, like both of them are like pining after each other, and like they're married and being all coupley kind of, but like neither of them is saying it out loud, being like, yeah, I really love you. And like the only other book series that I can say that I experienced this with was The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare and Henry and Charlotte in that series. Oh, when I ate that up when I was a teenager, and I got that feeling when I was reading from them. I was like, But like I feel like it has to be kind of a historical context for that trope to work for me. Like I don't think if I read like an arranged marriage kind of or like, getting married, because like I know there is those ones where it's like they're getting married for like inheritance or something, but I just don't think it would hit the same. But either way, so we have like these two different couples, and then so like I do think in order for you to really love the book, I think you would have to at least like, if not love, at least one of the couples. But I do think that there is a strong enough plot that, like, if you are not vibing with the characters, there's enough to kind of keep you going. I really enjoyed the world building and the spirits. It's not like super heavy or anything like that, but I think it did a very nice atmosphere. It felt very creative. I think the writing really suited it as well. Like, in reviews, they're talking about how, like, oh my god, the ending, which, like, I do think, because, like, you're getting, like, a lot of, like, reveals. I don't necessarily think all of them one by one is, like, shocking plot twist. Like, I feel like you're like, yeah, that makes sense for this kind of a story. But I think how she kind of laid them all out and timed them, I think, was really good. And, like, I didn't necessarily see some of them coming. It was kind of like, I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense for, because it's like one after the other after the other. It does kind of like build on it, being like, oh, I did kind of think this, but I didn't know this thing or this thing. And so I think that kind of like made it like wrap up nicely. So I really did overall enjoy it. I will say, because like the main couple of Jack and Adara, like, as I said, I did love them, but their relationship was like a bit, because like it's like childhood enemies, you know, rivals, annoyances. And I will say they do not stay in that phase for very long. And like that doesn't bother me too much, because like that's not a trope that I'm like particularly interested in or whatever. But I think maybe if that's like a trope that like really draws you in, don't go into this expecting that, because I would say that lasts very little time, if I'm being 100% honest. They honestly fall in love very quick, which it was, as I said, like the logical, you know, no fun part of my brain was like, that's a problem. And the other part of me was like, I don't care. So I feel like on another day that might have like definitely brought my enjoyment down. But I don't know what was up with me yesterday, but I was like, fine by me. I do not care. This pacing, it's fine. So yeah, so like I can acknowledge, I think there's a bit of a problem with the pacing of their romance in particular. I think the other one is paced better, but also like they know each other so long. And I was like they obviously do know each other. It's just like this is their first time seeing each other in years, and after like a week they're like, I love you. And so I think I would have liked to kind of stay in the kind of like, because I don't think like there was ever like any like real hatred. There was just like kids annoying the crap out of each other, which valid. And so I think they both kind of nearly feel a bit like outsider-ish. And I think if we had just kind of stayed in that a bit longer, and then like, because then I feel like then when they like open up to each other, it would make perfect sense for it all of a sudden to like the romance and relationship to move really fast once they've kind of like broken down that wall of, I just feel like I always been kind of on the outside. And I think like then it would make 100% sense for their relationship to move so quick. But that kind of like revelation actually only happened like after the romance happened. I think I would have preferred it kind of the other way around. But that's my only like major gripe with it. And even then, as I said, I was like, I don't care. So yeah, so I did finish it. Yay for me. And I don't know what I'm gonna read next. Obviously, like, it's April, new month, new reading vlogs, all of that, but I just don't know what I want to read. Like, I kind of want to immediately jump into the sequel, but also I kind of want to read the sequel to Dragon Song, and also I have like a whole lot of other books that I need to read, so I haven't really decided. So I shall see. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Tell me, have you completed your Our Fantasy bingo board? I actually haven't looked at the new one. I need to do that. And you should hopefully be seeing a new TBR. I imagine it'll be not this Sunday, the Sunday after, hopefully. And hopefully it'll be a good board. I need to actually go look at it. So you can look forward to that. I'm so happy that I did complete it, even if I did cheat for one square. I don't care. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.